Welcome to the Real Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by
the Resilience DoctHers,
Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL resilient framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out.
The Resilience DoctHers.
Alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. The implementation of the alignment framework prevents some of the most common problems in education, where leaders sometimes aren't sure where to start, or in our new age of educating, leaders need a trusted sounding board that allows them to be vulnerable and transparent, preventing loneliness at the top. The framework doesn't just help leaders, but also prevents teachers from burning out from too many initiatives and embracing teachers as they are the experts. Finally, the framework extends to the children, helping them get engaged in school and solving a nationwide problem. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water, succinctly creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in
the Resilience DoctHers
to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. Take a look. People who work with
the Resilience
describe them as
DoctHers.
an excellent and inspiring group of leaders. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
It's Super Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 232 of the Real Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate with your very own Resilience DoctHers. I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston.
And I am Dr. Tammy Taylor. Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to continue season 5 as we build the foundations of resilient schools.
Absolutely. So, Real Fam members, tell us what kept you resilient in the work this week. And if this is your first time tuning in, you may be wondering, who are the Resilience DoctHers and what are Real Fam members?
And we are very glad that you asked. We are best-selling authors, children's book authors, award-winning educators, and speakers who transformed our schools through report card movement, raising achievement levels at our school 2 and 3 levels in just a single year.
Absolutely. And as senior staff developers for Create and Educate, we know that school transformation is needed in many areas. So this platform is a way for us to show our real framework and our real fam members each week, providing you with tips and strategies and teachings around our framework that you see at the top of the screen or over our shoulders. And it includes respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. It's what we use to transform our schools. So if you need help with behavior, reading stamina, engaging literacy strategies, we can help. If you're looking for children's book authors visits, we're your girls. And if you need to get off of any of the list, contact us right away.
And if you can't bring us in just yet, keep tuning in to the Real Academy. We've impacted over 300,000 educators and nearly 7 million students through our free Fantastic Four PD every Super Saturday. We start off on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. with Principal Sean Hurt, who was just on before us and doing his thing. I heard him do a what was the guy, the wrestler, Wahoo McDaniel, who would woo-hoo.
Yeah.
We are celebrating always Principal Hurt for the phenomenal work that he does. And then, of course, at 10:30, we follow in the Real Academy, Create and Educate, Sheikah and I. And then at 11 a.m., the Leaders Mentor and the GOAT, AP and New Principals Academy is on with Principal Kafele. And then on Sundays, we round out with PGP Podcast with Dr. Mari Moreno and Principal Josh Tovar.
Absolutely. So please don't keep this to yourselves. Like, share, subscribe, send the stars, make the comments, do all of the things that the platforms do so we can build these algorithms, and we say please and thank you. So if you are one of our Real Fam members, you know that it is announcement and shout out time. So shout out to the Chester Rotary Club for having us. They allowed us to help everyone discover their secret sauce. So it was a way for them to connect to their leadership abilities and learn the secret behind the sauce that makes them who they are as leaders in their respective industries. So we got a lot of great feedback from that. Shout out to York Technical College, who had us to teach starting a nonprofit and writing a grant. We enjoy every one of those ladies who came out with their phenomenal new ideas and can't wait to see those come into fruition. And shout out to New York City Public School District, where we are now vendors. So if you are in that area, please reach out to us. We can definitely help you. And shout out to the amazing training team. And I'll let Tammy go ahead and talk about that one.
Yes, I got to work with a group from the South Carolina Department of Education this week,
Mm-hmm.
and was absolutely phenomenal. I'm looking forward to the second part and to join in that rank of trainers for teachers and for administrators, helping to support teachers. I'm really excited about that.
Absolutely. And shout out to your team, Tammy. I forgot to say it last week for the phenomenal 100 days celebration that was done by your department for educators. It was phenomenal. Everyone enjoyed themselves. Shout out to Christy McMullins, who came and was the keynote speaker. Everybody did a great job.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Thank you, though. And thank you for helping.
Yes, no problem. And don't forget to check out our Parents Are First Teachers, which is our radio show in partnership with WGCD Radio. And we'll put the website in the comments so you can see that, and everything that you need to access about us can be found on our website. So shout out this morning to LaKenya Rowland in New Jersey. She's on YouTube, so that's why it's hard to read the name. Mr. David Bell out of Benton Harbor, Michigan. Thank you for joining us. Stacy L. Joy on the West Coast. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Rella Hicks, we appreciate you for joining us. Principal Kafele the GOAT, and congratulations again on your 300th episode and beyond now. We always appreciate your support and your mentorship and your guidance. Coach Dot McKeever Jeter is in the house. She is the one and only. We appreciate everything that she does to promote all of the platforms. Chancellor Rashard Davis out of Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us. Lynette Wilson in North Carolina. She's in the winter weather storm, possibly with us. We're so excited about this snow, 6
Oh my
inches.
gosh.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to go out and play like a little child. Principal Sean Hurt, who is our brother in the work and did a fantastic job just a moment ago. Thank you for joining us. Shakara J. Moore from Mississippi. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Melissa Jones Chunu. Thank you for joining us. Josh Tovar, our brother in the work. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Michelle Perkins Griffin, I think I saw you were in New Orleans. Thank you for joining us and allowing Brandon to be with us. He does a phenomenal job. He's our platform engineer. So shout out to Brandon. He always does great. My mom, Beverly Hall, thank you for joining us. Queen Jacqueline Harriet out of Canada, thank you for joining us. Dr. Joe Griffin also does this work. Thank you for joining us. Assistant Principal Josh Bovell, and also an author. He's in our area right up the road. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. September Devance Vance Daniels, thank you for joining us. And I think I got everybody. Let me make sure. Oh, Queen Arcella Ostry, thank you for joining us. Principal Otis Kitchen, Dr. Edwin Garcia, thank you all for joining us. And if I missed anybody, y'all charge it to my head and not to my heart. We appreciate you. You could be doing a lot of things, but you are intentional about being here with us every Saturday, and we appreciate all of our Real Fam members. So that brings us to season 5, as Tammy stated, where for 13 weeks we are unpacking the foundations of resilient schools through our framework. So we've talked about respect, excellence, accountability, and today we are going to be talking about literacy as a tier 1 system. So that brings us to episode 232, and we're going to be shifting literacy from something that typically can be thought of as just something that the ELA department does or just the reading teachers do. Um, and we're going to change that to a school wide system that impacts engagement, behavior, attendance, and student confidence.
Yes, because when literacy is treated as a department, we see that students struggle. However, when literacy is treated as a foundation, schools thrive because literacy impacts how students access content, how they understand directions, how they are able to regulate their emotions, how they learn how to advocate for themselves, and how they are able to engage and to encounter the learning that is occurring in their context.
Absolutely, Tammy. And when students can't read, they disengage. And when they disengage, behavior increases. We're trying to get people to shift from seeing behaviors as just behaviors, because really what behaviors are communication. What is being communicated through this behavior? When behavior increases, and then the instruction suffers. So when we're seeing that communication through behavior to say, hey, I don't understand something, or I'm not getting this, then we have to take that in and try to monitor and adjust to meet the needs of the children. So literacy is the root. It is not just something that we're doing as one of the things. It is the root, the foundation to everything. And then in resilient schools, literacy has to live at tier 1. It has to be a universal support for all students. So tier 1 literacy has to include explicit vocabulary instruction. Tammy and I both, when we were in the building, had instructional manuals. So that wasn't a thing that was just, oh, whatever you think you decide is explicit vocabulary instruction, just do whatever you think. It was something that was actually thought about, and it wasn't done in absentia of the teachers. We worked with a team to determine how are we defining what explicit vocabulary instruction looks like in this building. When children travel from teacher to teacher and they're not hearing common language, or they're hearing explicit vocabulary instruction, but it looks this way over here with Miss Potato Plant, like Mr. Principal Hurt says, and it looks like this with Mr. Broccoli over here, that confuses children. So reading stamina and routines are something that has to be in place as well. We had charts even at the middle school that displayed building reading stamina, because if that doesn't exist with your children, you have to teach them that this is something we have to build and why it's important. Access to culturally relevant texts are important as well. We've heard Principal Kafele tell his story about him becoming the type of educator that he is, the type of man that he is, all had to do with the right books being put in his hand or coming into the right context with the books that displayed his culture and his history that made him want to access his learning. So, opportunities to talk, write, and reflect also are important as well. Our teachers were told to make sure that you're conferencing with students. When we had writing samples, I didn't just leave it to chance that the teachers were going to give feedback to the students on their writing. I used money to bring in subs to make sure they had extra planning periods to do that. Now, I know we're in the AI age, and a lot of people are using AI to grade papers now, and whatever works for you, but the children still have to have human feedback. You have to have a conversation for that to have context, and then that time to read for everyone was very important.
Yes, perfect. Perfect segue, Shika, because the intentionality of all that you just explained, even to the point that Principal Kafele, as an adult, had to be intentional about what he was doing when he was um, surrounding himself with that kind of experience for him to really just dive into and become the reader that he always was. He just did not have access, as you said before. Nobody had provided him with that access. And that speaks to the fact that when we are not providing students with what they need, what happens is that success that he experienced after post secondary, when he was actually out of the K-12 system and he's now an adult responsible for his own learning, should have been taking place when he was matriculating through elementary school, through middle school, through high school. But we don't have those supports in place and those resources to do what has to be done to make that happen, which is a very, very sad part of that whole literacy discussion. And what you mentioned about being the most critical at tier one is so, so important, because if tier one literacy is weak, then you can almost forget tier two and tier three, because it becomes so overwhelming because the kids can't handle what you're
Mhm.
trying to do. Strong tier one literacy instruction prevents those gaps from widening, and it provides the foundation for all other learning to become relevant and to be built upon.
Absolutely, Tammy. You are spot on with everything that you just said. And literacy within our five super strengths, when you organize things around this framework for literacy, it will really help you. And we have Create and Educate's five super strengths for a reason. We want our work to be duplicatable to anybody who wants to experience success with children. So, that respect, you have to respect and know who your children are. You have to know what demographics exist in the building. I went to my demographics list to order specific books for everybody who existed. Each student in my school by demographic could see themselves in a book in the classrooms. I made sure I was intentional about that for those reading libraries in the classrooms. You have to respect children enough to know their levels. Where are they? Because we have to use excellence in order to make sure that we are making our lessons accessible to everyone in our classrooms, everyone who's sitting in front of us. So that means in your lesson planning, you're planning for your tier one, your tier two students, your tier three students, and your students who are receiving special services. You're planning for that. It's not an afterthought, or you're not just saying, well, here's the lesson at grade level, because everything has to be on grade level. You take grade level work and make it accessible to every learner in your room. Accountability. This is a big piece that's missing in a lot of places. You have to make sure you're looking for these things as the leader. So, lesson plans, some people think, oh, we don't, I don't have time for lesson plans. We did lesson plans. Everybody on my leadership team was responsible for their department's lesson plan checking, because if I'm going to observe this group, I need to know what I'm looking for. I need to know whether or not you used excellence in your planning or not. And we also used our accountability handbooks. Everybody had notebooks too for accountability. Then that leadership, that literacy, making sure that you are also, as the leader, putting in the right professional development for all of your teachers. It wasn't just an ELA thing. Everyone in my building was responsible for reading. We all had assignments during our real we had like a win time for all students to focus on certain things and building their skills. So everybody was a teacher of reading, but you can't just say those words. You have to provide professional development, especially at the secondary level where they may not have been taught those reading strategies. And I depended on Tammy a whole lot for that because that is her background. And then the leadership is making sure that you're seeing all of this through, that you're intentional about everything that you're doing in your building. It's not just happenstance. So those systems of respect make students feel safe enough to try, that those small groups, students felt vulnerable enough to show that, you know, I may not be on grade level, but I can try to get better. They would not do that in large settings with all of their peers. So the small groups were essential for that. Systems of excellence, instruction has to be high quality and it has to be intentional. Going back to that lesson plan and I talked about, if you're not showing people how to plan for this and just assuming that they all know how to do it, you know, that's something that you got to build up in your leadership. And then systems of accountability. We have to have progress monitoring and making sure that we're supporting where that support is needed.
For sure, Shika, that is so powerful because at the center of all that, literacy is sitting right at the intersection, connecting all three of our systems. You cannot hold students accountable for learning that they cannot access. And I'm so thankful that you brought up the discussion of lesson plans because sometimes in some settings, lesson planning sounds like this dirty word of I'm trying to micromanage what is happening at the classroom level. But until we begin to see that as a necessary component of the instructional program in each classroom, we miss the fact that lesson planning, and this was the tool that we use it for in my school, the coaches are an active part of the lesson planning process because gaps, just like we identify gaps for children, we can identify where there are gaps in the instruction for teachers, and the coaches are able to hone in and catch that before there ever is even an issue with the children, because that's what we always are trying to avoid. So we definitely want to be sure that we understand how important it is and how all of those systems go together when we're thinking about the, especially our framework and what that looks like for supporting teachers and students in their learning. And what we want to go to is just how literacy across the MTSS domains has to make sense. Because when you think about MTSS, literacy strengthens every single domain. You have the academics where you know for sure, and just think about it. When you're thinking about academics, what immediately comes to mind? Well, how well are the children doing? Yes. And how do you best determine how they're doing? We have to figure out how students are comprehending content across the subject areas and behavior. Students have to understand expectations. And as I stated before, be able to regulate and express those emotions that they're feeling. And communication is a strong part of literacy. Attendance, students have to show up when they are going to learn anything, because they can't learn if they're not there. And when they show up, they have to be able to feel like learning feels accessible to them. It can't be out of their reach, or guess what? They're not coming. And then for SEL, we have to think about it from this aspect. Students build confidence, they build their voice, they're building self awareness. All those things come from a very strong literacy support system within the school.
Absolutely, Tammy. And, literacy is connected to so many things as adults. It impacts your employment, the employment rate. It impacts the crime rate. It impacts your accessibility to healthcare. And we have to make sure that we're looking at literacy as a civil right. It is not something, and I've talked about this in my hearing officer trainings as well. We can't act as if certain children deserve education, or we some people lose it when you get to a certain point. It's a civil right. Everybody should be able to do this. And we know from the Right to Read documentary that 97% of children can learn how to read. So when people say things like, oh, the low babies, oh, those are the ones that just won't grow, that does not exist. And if it does exist, it is in very small pockets where there's some type of cognitive disability or something that's associated with that. But on a grand scale, all children should be able to learn how to read and grow.
Yes.
So when we're building these reader schools again don't happen just by chance. People don't just show up with the degrees and start doing all of the stuff. As Principal Hurt said, we're instructional leaders. We have to lead this process, and they're built through systems. So reader schools protect instructional reading time. I had to make sure that that was protected in my building. I remember sitting in a class observing, and people were making announcements. Somebody was calling the class. I had to stop all of that. You are not allowed to make announcements all throughout the day to interrupt the instruction. We have to use common language around reading. We have to model reading as leaders, and then we have to celebrate reading publicly and support teachers with strategies and not pressure.
Yes, and you have to put things in place that make the children and the teachers know that you know that reading is important. One of the things that we put in place very quickly was the drop everything and read. Yes, it's important. We're all reading. Teachers don't understand sometimes how significant it is for the kids to see that you value this too. And people were writing checks and paying bills and shopping online. It's like, no, 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 this is not what we do. We are all reading during this time because this is the message that we want to send to our children and to our families. And back to what you were saying, Shika, this is why coaching, walkthrough calibrations, literacy audits, and teacher efficacy work matters. Literacy has to be designed, it cannot be hoped for. Just like the other parts of our framework, we've talked about this. It cannot be just a hope. Strategy isn't a hope. No,
Exactly.
strategy is an action. So when you're hoping, that is not strategy. Nothing's wrong with that because we believe in hope. But we need some action behind the hope. You have to be able to design intentionally what you want to see happen.
And we got 1 minute left, so we're going to get out of Principal Kafele's way.
Yes.
Literacy is not just about test scores, it's about access to learning, confidence, and opportunity.
For sure. Resilient schools don't ask students to be strong readers on their own. They build systems so that the readers can actually grow.
Absolutely. So thank you for joining us for episode 232 of the Real Academy. Next week, we'll continue season 5 as we move into leadership as a tier 1 system.
Yes, and catch the replay, share it with your team, and join us next Super Saturday because we are the Resilience DoctHers, helping you create and educate so that you can thrive.
Absolutely. So join Principal Kafele next. Join Josh and Dr. Marty Moreno on Sunday. And like Tammy said, right back here on Super Saturday. So have a real amazing Super Saturday,
And
everyone.
if you're getting snow, enjoy it. Like
Yes,
us.
I am getting ready to.